Hey everyone, today I want to take a minute to tell you how to protect your low back when you are bending. So if you're out there bending, the way you protect your low back is by bending through your hip and pivoting around the hip joint rather than pivoting through the low back. And here's why this is important. The main thing that we need to consider when we're bending through the low back is that we put a lot more stress on the structures of the discs. So when we're in a neutral position, which is actually around about a 30 to 40 degree curve in the low back, depending on your body type, what we have is a little bit of compression through these discs, but it's distributed evenly throughout the low back and all the structures of the low back. However, when you do bend forward, what happens is a lot of the compression goes through here. And because we're not only just bending and putting our body weight on there, we're actually engaging the core muscles with these activities, especially if you're lifting something, the amount of force that goes through these discs increases dramatically. And when you increase the amount of force on a structure, you can increase the risk for injury. So a lot of times what happens when people bend, they can tweak the outer fibers of these discs and they can cause quite severe pain and even back spasms. So what we want to do when we bend, we want to keep this nice and neutral to alleviate some of the strain that's on the disc structures, and we want to pivot through the hips. And there's one very simple technique you can do to make sure you're bending through your hips rather than your low back. So as you see, when I bend, what's happening is I'm bending through the hips, and because my torso is upright and my head is upright with my hands extended or arms extended onto my thighs, what that does is it forces you to keep your back in a neutral position while you're bending down. Now, if you have very tight hamstrings or you have maybe some arthritis or impingement in your hips, you might find this more difficult to go further down and you might feel pulling or pinching through there. But for most people, we can get down pretty far and then we can come out of that position. Now, the final thing is when you are coming out of a position like this, if you are lifting, make sure you engage your low back first. Don't try to stand up and extend your legs and then bring your back out of it. It's absolutely important that you extend your back and then try to straighten your legs out of it. So when you hear that thing, bend with your knees, it's not necessarily the case to save your back. It's really bend through the hips, use your low back, your hips, and your knees all as one, and it's gonna save your low back from having major issues in the future. Take care.